Okay, we will call the regular city council meeting for Tuesday, July 19th, 2022 to order. If you would all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First item on the agenda is to approve our agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move the approval of the amended agenda.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Second item, or next item, is the consent calendar. Does anyone have any questions or comments, or? I'll entertain a motion to accept the consent calendar.
So move.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next item is open forum. First item on open forum is Fire Chief Sean Bailey with a presentation of a rescue boat from the Lions Club. Chief?
Should I do check a 1, 2? Anyway. Good evening. Which one goes this way? Anyway. The Lions reached out to us, I don't know, a couple weeks ago and asked us if we had a wish list. So of course we shot it right over. There were several items on our wish list and they chose a rescue boat for us, a Zodiac. I don't know if you've already seen this or not in your packets. So this was a total area of 18.34 square miles, which 10.78 is water, or miles is land, 7.56 is water. There's only 2 departments in our county that have a boat, which would be Brainerd, excuse me, and Cross Lake. So we're basically centrally located. We have no equipment at this point other than commandeering people's boats to get out for anything in the water. So this would be a good addition to our department. What I'm looking for is you guys to accept the donation from the Lions of $27,000. Yes, it was out of the blue. I think it's a great opportunity. It's been on a wish list for a while. This is what it'll look like. It's a Zodiac. It can be launched through a person's yard. It'll have wheels beside the motor in the back. So we can hook on it and 4 guys or 2 guys can run it down the hill and away we go. The total cost is $27,060.75.
Is that a rigid hull?
Oh, who? No, it's a rubber boat. It's a Zodiac. It's
The
a
hull
boat.
is, the base hull is rubber too, or is it
Yes.
rigid?
No,
Base hull is, okay.
the
Zodiac makes a rigid and then they make the
the
regular.
center is rigid, but the tubes on the outside are blow up.
Okay, rigid, okay, thank you.
Any
Mayor,
questions?
I'll move we approve the rescue boat donation to the fire department as presented.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you, Lions Club.
And thank you, Lions Club.
The next item on the agenda is, or the next portion of open forum is public comment. This is an opportunity for anybody in the audience that wishes to address the council about anything that's not currently on the agenda. If you do have an agenda, a question or a comment about an agenda item, you'll be given time at that point to do that. We do ask that comments be kept to about 5 minutes. Is there anyone that wishes to address open forum?
Is it still on? Hi, everybody. I've not been here since I stopped being at the chamber. So I'm Sean Hansen and I'm with the Nisswa Lions Club. And all I wanted to just give you an update was how proud we are as a civic organization that from July of 21 to June of 22, we have donated over $230,000 to our communities. One of that being this rescue boat, but we have done many, many things. We appreciate the relationship that we have at the Pickle. That's our pull tab business. We also now have Bar Harbor. We have Notch 8, and we're going to be going into Cowboys. So while we're really proud of that number, that's a big number for all of us, but it only means that we can continue to do more and more for our communities. So we're really proud. We helped our police department this past year with some thermal imaging equipment. We saw recently that they apprehended somebody based on that. That's great. This boat will be a good service, but it's all of the things that our Lions Club can do. And I just wanted to give you that heads up. That was $230,000 in 1 year.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anyone else who wishes to address an open forum?
Honorable Mayor and Council, I'm John Lupke. When Bill Brecken chose not to re-sign up for the county commission seat for District 2, I put my name in. I've been in this district since 1973. I have served as the mayor of Jenkins since 2007, about 15 years. I also serve on the Region 5 Board of Directors. I also serve with the city administrator on the League of Minnesota Cities Board of Directors. So I just want to announce who I am and thank you for letting me have this time.
Thanks, John. Is there any other public comment from anyone? Seeing none, we will close open forum. City reports, city administrator.
Thank you, Mayor Ryan. Good evening, members of the council. I have a couple items just to reference that are in your packet. My monthly report is there for you. If you have questions, I would be happy to answer any questions that you have. We will be discussing the THC legislation later on under new business. We'll talk about that a little bit more. And then otherwise, there's just some updates in my written report. And then I do have included in the packet the recycling center update memo that I completed, and I did email that to the council, but I wanted it to be in the packet as well. I'm happy to answer questions if you have them. But as I did mention, this will continue to go through Public Works Committee and will come to the council, whether that's August or September. We will see how things work its way through the committee level first to the council. But if you have questions, I'd be happy to answer them. That's all I have.
Any questions for the city administrator? None? Okay.
Thank you.
City attorney is not present tonight. He had a conflict, I believe, a scheduling conflict or whatever. City engineer, do you have anything for us? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Any questions? No? Okay. New business, number 1, public hearing. There we go, for new liquor legislation, updated brewery packaging and distribution legislation. Go ahead.
So if I could have someone, a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
And I second.
All those in favor?
Hi.
Aye. Public hearing is open.
Wonderful. So the ordinance amendment in front of the council tonight incorporates new liquor legislation that was approved at the end of this recent legislative session. So it allows for additional brewery ability to expand their business. And we received a request from Roundhouse and Big Axe Breweries to incorporate this legislation to allow their businesses to do that. So I had the city attorney draft the language that we would need to incorporate, and we are here tonight to hold the public hearing. If there are any comments from the public, we can take them now, and then the council can close the public hearing and then vote on the ordinance amendment.
Okay. So with that understanding, is there anyone in the public in the audience present that wishes to address the council, reference this amendment that we are going to be deciding upon? Doesn't appear there is. Is there anyone online that's called in or contacted us?
I have received no comments
Okay,
or requests.
okay. So we close the
Close the
public hearing. Don made a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
Second by Fraley. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Public hearing is closed. would need does one on the council have any questions about what the updated packaging distribution, the new ordinance language and what we are doing?
Mr. Mayor, as I read this, it sounds basically like the new ordinance would allow about twice as much to be sold as we currently do. If I'm wrong about that, roughly.
No, I would say that's correct.
Does anyone have any questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we accept the ordinance amendment for liquor legislation as presented.
I'll second that, but we should add, I think, to that motion to allow the administrator to print a summary judgment.
We can combine that as one, or we can do two separate motions. If you want to combine it, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll add that then as a separate motion.
And do we have a second?
I will second that.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. So we're,
That is complete. Yes, I will mention that there was a question about the licensing part of that, and the city attorney is going to confirm, but he believes that we will not need any new specific licenses for that, but we will make sure that we follow up just to make sure that's defined clearly. But hopefully the current brewery licenses will encompass all of this and we'll be good to go.
okay. Next item on the agenda, approve new employee retention committee policy.
This is the same policy that was presented to the council at our June workshop, and the council requested this be brought forward to your meeting tonight for approval. So if once approved, I will work to implement this policy, likely so that we have it ready to go no later than January 1st of next year. If it's sooner, that's great as well. We'll just work through it as we can in coordination with the budget schedule.
Okay. Don?
I have a question on page 1. The committee is going to be comprised of employees of the city and will not include any city council members, city administrators, so on. Well, technical question maybe, is this still going to fall under the open meeting law, even though they're not normally doing this? Does this have to be an open meeting law? If I wanted to come in and listen, but do nothing else, would that be allowed?
I would say it would be allowed, Councilmember Jacobson, but I would also suggest that the idea of the committee is to allow staff to brainstorm, to work through things without maybe other influences or being, council being present, myself.
I
such as
understand,
that.
but I didn't want to have a problem with the law saying that they're holding secret meetings and nobody can get in and find out what's going on.
Right. No, and all of that is meant to be brought forward to the personnel committee or the council as far as budget and things like that. But open meeting law would not apply for an employee committee.
Would not apply.
It would not apply.
There's also a question I had on that same paragraph on the committee shall comprise of employees of the city. No members of the city council, commission, or committee members or the city administrator can be on that. I was wondering, what about saying voting committee members? I mean, I'm just curious, like, what if, for example, Kiki wanted to be on it? She attends all the committee meetings and everything, and
Well, she's a city employee,
yeah.
so
So
she's
she could do
eligible.
that, right?
Yes.
Even though she's on the committee, but she's
Well,
not
she's
on
not
the
on the
committee,
committee.
right?
No,
Okay,
she
she's-
attends as a support staff
Okay,
for the committee.
okay,
Yes.
fine, then that's good.
Any other questions? Seeing none? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
just a comment. I am generally not in favor of this type of committee because I think in the long run, it has more negatives to it than positives. I'm still going to vote for it to give it a chance, but going in with some doubts.
What kind of response have we had on this, Jenny, from employees?
Nothing beyond what I provided in June. I had received some comments and I provided to the council, but I think there is a certain element of, we just like to see this be able to get started and see where it goes and work through it. So I think there's an overall excitement for this potential to see what positive can come from it. That's my sense.
Yeah, my hope on this is that it could help focus some of the requests from the city staff itself, but it's be a very collaborative venture. That's what I'm hoping it will work out to be, not a negative thing.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Can I get a motion?
I'll move that we make a motion that we accept the Employee Retention Committee approval policy as presented.
No, second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number 3, preliminary plat, Nisswa Crossings. Council, there wasn't a public comment received. You should have gotten that here. Yeah, okay. That was provided to Bethany from Paul Withers. If you haven't had a chance to read it, you can do so. Bethany, I'll let you take it.
Thank you, Mayor Ryan and Council. The Planning Commission has recommended approval of a preliminary plat for a planned unit development, Nisswa Crossings, located off of County Road 18. The applicant is proposing 22 single-family residential lots on 15.7 acres located in the urban residential district. The proposed development will be served by a shared water system and central sewer. All proposed streets will be built to city standards and are accessed by County Road 18 and Pine Haven Road. If you have any further questions, I'd be happy to help answer.
I was wondering about this, what Paul wrote about the buffer zone, and putting up of stakes and yellow tape or anything like that. Is that possible, or is that going to happen, or?
As far as having that as part of a condition, I'm not quite sure if we could legally put that as a condition. I don't know if that's something that could be discussed and be a civil issue, but I don't know if that's something that we could condition at this point.
Okay.
Bethany, I wonder if you could talk a little bit about, on the west side, there's an existing city street. And there's some talk about trucks and traffic because of this subdivision going in. Would that city street be holding up under the increased traffic? It's used very little right now. And I don't remember how we came out on deciding that issue, remember?
I think that would be better answered by either the Public Works Director or our city engineer, as far as if those roads would hold up.
Pine Haven.
Pine-
Yeah, there's 2 access points going in. Right. And one is an existing city street. And there was some concern about the increased traffic because of this going in. Would the street hold up, or was it going to be?
Well, here, I'll show you.
Right.
I don't see that as an issue if it's hooked up to the city and built city standards. Is the street that we're talking about built?
Pine Haven Road is an existing street right now, and it runs north and south behind or to the west of where this development is proposed. Most access will be achieved off of County Road 18, but there is some concern about how that would impact the existing road, Pine Haven Road.
I think there was a concern like it could break up the road or something with the heavy equipment going in if it went onto that road, but it was commented that they would make sure that they come in from County Road 18.
That is
do
the
that.
plan. That
Oh, for
most,
construction. Yeah, that would
Construction.
be very wise to come in from
Mhm.
County Road 18 and down through there. Matter of fact, we should make that. We can make that work.
Would you
Stipulation of a
recommend that?
Stipulation of a construction.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can do that.
I agree with that. Yeah. For the sake of the residents.
Yeah, now's the time on a preliminary if you want to make comments and stuff, because once you're past the preliminary, it's too late to change anything.
Right. I mean, I was just thinking when I read about that, that access to Pine Haven, possibility of heavy equipment going down there and breaking up that road. During construction, could it not be, since it doesn't go to Highway 18 anyway, block it? So nothing can go into there. They just come in from 18 and do all their construction.
Well, I think the concern was of the 2 or 3 people who live along the existing road.
Correct.
They were concerned that if the road broke up early, were they going to be assessed to repave the road not caused by them?
Correct, right.
The
And-
construct, I was gonna say, the construction activities can be addressed during construction. They don't have to be addressed on the plat through the permitting and anything that's happening with the construction
But
to
if-
not allow it, you know.
Right,
that's
but
the
if
case.
we note someplace that we talked about the issue, that would helpful. We end up in court later on.
We could
Okay,
put a stipulation in there that it needs to be restored to grade as it was prior to construction, you know, pre-construction survey, so it's done ahead of time, so it's restored to the grade that it was prior. Any construction activities that alters that road
If they're
If there
allowed
is-
to use the road, then it would be
at a minimum,
a road restoration due to the construction.
at a minimum that.
Yeah.
Or more preferably going down 18.
I think what you're gonna find is there's gonna be times when a construction truck is gonna go down Pine Haven just simply because
right.
somebody is dropping off or somebody's coming in to deliver goods and they're new, they don't know any different. They just drive through and they go, and the foreman or whoever might not catch it. You know, Pine Haven is paved, I believe. Yes, it's a 50-foot easement, or it's a 50-foot right of way according to this map. What condition is Pine Haven in? I mean, is it even on our, Tom, can you come up and I mean, is it something that we should do, as you're suggesting, have, you know, pre-construction stuff, go look at it and just keep an eye, have you guys keep an eye on it?
I like Joe's suggestion, make the construction traffic come off of 18. There's no
Right.
reason for them to be on Pine
And
Haven.
you can force that too during construction. It does,
Okay.
you're welcome to put it into the plat or as a condition if you want, but I don't think it's necessary to
The
do.
incidental traffic, like you were talking about, an errant delivery or something, you know, I don't think you can stop all of
Dump
that,
trucks are
but-
coming, you know, garbage trucks come in, buses come in, you know, you still have heavy traffic on any road and they're designed to take that load. Now, if the traffic count goes up, you know, 400 trucks or something like that, yeah, it's gonna take a toll on the road. But there is some expectation that there'll be some trucks on the road.
Reasonable expectation.
Yes, you, just as far as, you know, anybody bringing something to their house, isn't that, you know, that lives on the road.
UPS delivery.
Is
Granted, not as much traffic,
Right.
but yes.
At least we talked about.
Pine Haven is on our list of the next, say, roads to do, is it?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I
so
was
it's-
just out and surveyed the road a couple days ago for our next road bond, and it's not gonna be, as of today, it would not be on my 2025 recommendation.
Okay.
And I might sound silly, but can't you just block access to the subdivision for Pine Haven Road?
So one
You
thing.
just block it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The only problem is if you have an accident in there, or there's a construction accident or something, ambulance, fire stuff, there's always nice to be able to get in and out. To
Right.
ingress, egress.
And that's why I only recommended having that second adder in there, that preferable that construction activity go through the 18 access, but to be a safety net, any damage to Pine Haven as existing as it is to be restored at cost of contractor due to additional road.
Can I just,
Yep.
one comment to that?
Yep.
If you do make that stipulation, you'd end up having to prove that it was their trucks that did it.
And then wear
And
and
someone
tear.
would have to watch to see that that's the truck coming in there, or it is. If one accidentally goes through there, nobody's gonna see it, but then
Right.
you can't blame all the breakup on it if one truck went through. Now, if there's a bunch of traffic there, then, you know, we'd have to take some kind of an action then.
Okay.
But I don't know that that would work.
Oh, I see your point.
It sounds like the developer is willing to come in off 18 anyway. So. I think, cross the bridge when we get there, if we get there.
Well, I think that can be stipulated with the permits issued
Pull the permit. if-
and
if it
bedocumented and
becomes a problem.
we'll ensure it's documented here. So, yes.
One thing I'd like to clarify, I can't remember who made the comment that citizens were concerned about an assessment if the road did break up. Currently, when we repair the roads, we don't assess. So
Right.
we don't have an assessment policy for that.
That's right. Okay. Thank you, Tom.
You're welcome.
Is there anything else, Bethany, or? Okay, any other questions for Bethany or? Staff recommends approval. So can I get a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll move city council approves the preliminary plat of, what's the official name? Or,
Nisswa Crossings.
thank you. As presented.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Memo from the city administrator referenced THC legislation. This was an addition to on the amended agenda. Jenny?
Yes, thank you. As the council knows, this is new legislation that we are all trying to figure out how this impacts our community, as well as everyone is trying to figure out the impacts. So my memo was very high level. I provided a PowerPoint presentation from a firm who provided a webinar last week, which was really helpful and has some good information, especially on the details of the statute itself and some of those nuts and bolts. What I did was I just articulated some of the impacts to the city, certain city departments that I anticipate will warrant for further discussion over the next couple of months. A couple of the ones I highlighted, police and public safety, more from an operations perspective. What does that look like? The statute and the legislation does outline the kind of prosecution steps for how that will work. So that's all laid out. But we have a canine who is trained in drug detection and things like that. What does that look like?
I asked, it won't affect the dog because Sherry's not trained in marijuana.
Okay, great. You were ahead
So
of
that
me on
would-
that one. That's great. So these are things that I was brainstorming, thinking we'd want to communicate and articulate at some point when we had a better sense on that. Planning and zoning. There will likely be impacts as far as how we choose to regulate, if at all. There is no likely opportunity to outright prohibit this in Nisswa based on how the legislation is written. I don't want to say absolutely not, because if there is a legal basis that the council can establish and the city attorney agrees with that methodology, there's something that you can do, but for the most part, the legislation wasn't written to allow just outright prohibition of this. So we have to think about licensing and zoning impacts from both a retail sales perspective and also a production perspective. Our municipal liquor stores. Is this a product that we can sell if it's even allowed? I don't know the answer to that yet. Would we want to if it is allowed to be sold? So those are some of the questions for our municipal. And then there will be some human resources, personnel policy areas that we will want to confirm that we have the right language in place to ensure we're covering, verbiage changes. And when you think of controlled substance versus drug as a definition in our policies, want to make sure that those are current and appropriate. So we know how to utilize that for staff purposes. This is now a legal substance to have with you on your personal time. Certainly, how do we want to regulate that on city property during work hours, that kind of thing. So that's a really high level, just what I could get through as far as some of the potential implications. I would appreciate your questions, feedback, things that you would like me to bring back to the council next month that we can work towards. If you have any goals for regulation, those kinds of things.
I just think it's strange that this got through the legislature without anybody knowing about it.
Just a matter
The
of time.
omnibus bills contain a lot of different provisions and that happens sometimes, yes.
You gotta approve the bill before you can read it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'd like to hear back from city attorney on if the council decided, no, we didn't want this, the sale of it. You can't. If somebody wants to use it within the limits, that's their legal right under state law now. But if the council were to say, we don't want it sold within the city limits, you know, if you can look into that, if we can do that.
Okay.
I know in other states that's allowed to happen. And then if we do say yes, or we find out that, no, we can't prohibit the sale, then, you know, I'd like to see it not in the downtown retails.
Okay.
Or historic downtown.
Okay.
And I know that on the public safety side of it with the police, I mean, it would be considered if, you know, impaired driving, if, so yeah.
I think there are more questions than answers. because of this
There are.
legislation.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just, you know.
Something I mentioned to Mayor Ryan as well earlier, if the council has any interest in getting business input or feedback, we can certainly work to facilitate that. Just wanted to put that out there as an option. It's just a matter of when you bring new regulations or ordinances into effect without really communicating what that might look
Mhm.
like, that tends to, you know, cause some frustration. So certainly if you would like any feedback, or I can at least try to engage and get some perspective, I'm happy to do that too.
That'd be
You know,
worthwhile.
I'm a complete blank sheet on this type of subject. I don't know much about it at all. So, but I am curious. I'd like to know more about what are the effects?
Yeah.
What are they? You
It's
know,
the active ingredient in marijuana.
it's the active ingredient, but how does it?
They differentiate between, this is a Sylvia derivative, so that's more of a, as they call it, a body high, not the psychological high. But then also it's the dosage, I think, is like not to exceed 50 milligrams per packet. Not to exceed, I think 5 or 0.05, whatever it is, milligrams per. Now,
Yeah, well, I was just curious what it does. It doesn't make you feel like you're drunk or whatever. I just don't know what it does. I'd like to know more about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, certainly can do that.
and it would be nice to get the business feedback too on what their thoughts
I
are.
think it would be, especially if it's gonna come down to that, we're on a state level and county level. How would businesses in this area that wanted to potentially partake in selling any product, or even if it goes to manufacturing said product here in Nisswa as well? I know for a fact, when it comes to the human resources side, our family business as a construction firm, we adhere to who we work for most of the times. And a lot of the times, they don't even blink at whatever state, Washington, California, Colorado. They don't care if it's legal in that state. You want to work on our site, you adhere to our policies. This is what we have. When in this referenced human resources paragraph, it talks about CDL holders, individuals operating equipment.
Mhm.
There would be a serious modification of not just the city, but then the county and the state policies of how to operate anything under the influence. And then testing, randomized testing or standardized testing on a frequent basis. It's done, probably have the best line of it. There's far more questions than there are answers. None of us really have any tonight. So I think if we were able to get more input from, I think, businesses in the community, very advantageous, but it is a sticky situation. I'd like to see what happens at a higher level before we decide to make a decision.
I think everybody has their ideas of what they're thinking. My suggestion is get them, if we can, if we haven't already, get them to Jenny. And so she has an idea, and then maybe we could reach out to Pam at the
Mhm.
chamber. And we can contact the chamber members as well, you know, and the businesses in that direction. And then we'll kind of have an idea. They'll have a good idea what we're looking for. So.
Maybe a long road.
Thank you for your feedback. I reached out to the county as well to see what their plans are. They will keep me posted if they have anything that they do or decisions made. So that will also
I guess I do have one point on that then. Is it abnormal, or I guess since it's such a new trend of legislation that's coming out across the country, is it common for a municipal like us to more or less be ahead of the curve and try to come up with our own ordinance on it than wait for, say, what the county does, or break away from what a county does? Do we want to, or maybe be worthwhile to research and see what other cities that have broken away and done their own and have frayed away from what a state or a county has done?
It's interesting because if I think of something similar, like the short-term rental ordinance, the city of Nisswa has adopted the county ordinance, and for that purpose, simplicity is great. Consistency is great, but there have been some cities recently who have also adopted their own now. I think they're seeing some things and they want to regulate. And I think that's important that we have that opportunity to make our own decisions, which is great. It's just a challenge when things come really quickly like this, when we're not expecting it, and trying to come up with what that looks like becomes a challenge. So I support that, being able to maintain our local control and have that option. But hopefully we'll start to see some ideas coming from other cities across the state, even just looking to see what they're doing. Again, what maybe the county will or won't do. I have a feeling that this will end up at the city level and the cities to regulate. So we will have to work through that and what that looks like. But yes, certainly we'll pull together some more information. This was great feedback. Thank you. And we'll engage the business community and bring you back more information in August.
Just one final
Yeah.
thought is just that this THC legislation, if they've approved this for the state, like Jesse at your company, if somebody uses that edible or whatever it is, then what happens if they fires them? I don't think you can.
When we would hire an individual in a state where it's regulated, it's used, it's common, they acknowledge when they go through, they're supposed to read our employee manual, go through the policies that we have set in place for employees. They are acknowledging that they know that it's not tolerated working for us on this job site, any job site that our clients would have.
We had that at our company too, but we didn't have the legislature approve it in the state.
Sure.
So
Well-
now it's approved. And
Well,
so that, I'm just wondering what the legal
Depends on what
issues
they're-
are.
I'll
Depends
take,
on what their job is. If they operate a CDL, if they have a CDL, period, you can't have it.
right, that falls under federal DOT too, but also I have a sister who's in HR in Colorado, and when they legalized cannabis in the state of Colorado, the company she was with, they put it right down. Nope, you cannot, there's no use. If you're found using, there would be termination. So I mean, there's precedent set there.
Okay.
But I mean, some of it has to fall under federal regulation also because it's not legal under federal law.
So we will wait for more info.
Yeah, so that's one of the things we need to get to.
Thank you.
Okay, there's nothing under old business, council reports. I have nothing. Don, Jesse?
I don't have a report, but like to share some good results from a golf tournament that me and a fellow Nisswa, former Nisswa resident, Joe Hag, who plays for the Pittsburgh Steelers now. He and I had a golf tournament with some other Brainerd alumni on the, I think, 30th of June, or Friday, July 1st. We raised close to $40,000 for the Brainerd Warrior Football Program. And that is strictly going to the Brainerd Warrior Football Association. It's going to buy new pads, helmets, footballs, and had a lot of good feedback. Great result. 144 golfers, probably another 50, 60 came to the dinner banquet after. And we're going to try to make this an annual event. Yeah.
Mark?
I enjoyed, well, Parks and Rec with the meeting earlier in the month. We had a very good meeting with the representative with HGKI on the master plan. There's a lot of feedback back and forth, so I think that's coming along. And we'll be waiting for some more public input on that.
No, nothing here.
Okay. Take a look at the announcements and upcoming meeting dates. If anyone has any questions, get a hold of Jenny. Otherwise, let's make sure we remember August 16th, 5:30 PM. Council, that's our next council workshop, budget workshop. Okay. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Don,
Second.
Mark and Mark both seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Very well. Thank you all for coming.